It's like really,
We're live now, so you're good to go.
But if you do decide to do it,
Call to order, roll call.
Commissioner Cuthbertson,
yes.
Commissioner D'Alessandro,
Here.
Commissioner Khan,
Here.
Chairperson Gonzalez,
Here.
and I am also here. We have a quorum.
Number 2, any public comments on the agenda items? Moving on to number 3, public comments on non-agenda items. 4, are there any amendments to the agenda?
I have none.
Okay. 5, approval of the minutes. Approval of the minutes from November 19th meeting.
I guess point of order, now would be a time for a motion, correct? Or do we discuss first?
You can, I think, as a point of order, you can, these are more like consent agenda, so you can motion to review both of them.
Yep.
And then discuss, or I think you can, if there's any, typically, if there's any corrections that anyone noted in the minutes, those sort of items can be discussed, so they can be modified. If not, just a motion to approve the minutes from both the November 19th and the September 17th meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from November 19th and September 17th.
Second?
Okay, moving on to any,
Yeah, sorry, I'll take the vote. Yep, no, your problem. We'll do a, all in favor?
Aye.
aye,
Any opposed?
nay,
Are you opposed or nay or not opposed?
not opposed.
Okay.
Any unfinished business? As in,
We have the two items for the unfinished business.
Okay.
So the first one was to review the traffic pattern on North Yale from North Avenue to Armitage, as that was tabled from the last meeting.
okay. So this item was tabled on December 17th meeting, and the staff has gathered additional information concerning the request. So,
I can present that. Within your packet, I will make for transparency, I did notice this evening that we had an issue where it was not printing the staff reports that usually accompany a lot of the attachments on the packet that went out. So in your packets up here, I've attached what should have been included when it goes out. At this location, at the last, I know, meeting in December, one of the requests was that we were conducting traffic studies on that location. It could not be performed before the December meeting, kind of due to the weather, as we received snowstorms and some adverse weather up to that meeting. Since that time, engineering staff has gone out and placed our traffic camera counters out there. Included in your report is the breakdown of that traffic count.
where is that located?
That is part of it.
Okay,
So you do have a chart that kind of just gives an overview of all the traffic, and then it kind of gives a breakdown by hours in the directions of traffic. Overall, we did note that we do see an increase in traffic, like as the day progresses into the afternoon PM hour, peak hour, which is like 4 to 6 PM, is usually the heaviest traffic that is traveled. Majority of the traffic that was counted was all light-duty traffic. That's your passenger cars, your kind of passenger trucks, and a few school buses. Overall, there's a breakdown in the percentage that we know of vehicles traveling each way, and it's about, if I remember right, about 800 vehicles, 850 vehicles per day travel on that portion of Yale Avenue. Additionally included, Sergeant Hyman had previously provided a report based on the police activity that they've encountered in that location, which was also included as a memo from him into your packet that kind of discuss what he has discovered, and we do have Sergeant Hyman here today that can also provide any additional information. I would say overall, based on it, they did not have any parking citations on the villa in Oakland. Oh, sorry, reading the wrong one. They had 7 traffic violations between 2021 and 2025. Between the period of 21 through 25, they had 19 police-related calls, including 7 traffic violations observed by officer and 5 extra patrols conducted by officers. I apologize, I missed the spreadsheet. Eric, I apologize. I missed the spreadsheet, so we can get that. Additionally, we do have the traffic study that was included, and then additionally, I put in back the minutes from all the traffic and safety minutes that were conducted going back to 2020 as it relates kind of to this area. I believe as indicated in the last meeting, previously, under the old traffic and safety, staff had reached out to Addison, and they weren't really in favor of removing any of the barriers on the other roadways to open up traffic.
So I have a question on the report.
Yes.
On the spreadsheet, what does lights mean? Right below motorcycle.
The light means the classification of car. So
Cars.
it's kind of a light duty, is the indication, is how they pronounce it. So it's, the percentage is like 99%, so it's mostly
Oh,
your
cars,
passenger
okay.
vehicles that are traveling on that
Got it.
roadway. As they do have the distinction between motorcycle, light vehicles, meaning passenger vehicles, and then your single unit trucks, and then your articulated trucks. The video is a little dark just because of this time of year, we don't get as much daylight.
Yep.
So there was a little bit of disclassifications, we feel, but I think overall, the single unit trucks were probably your Amazon, your FedEx trucks that were traveling down that roadway. And I do believe the buses is probably school buses, was our interpretation.
And the 18th is a Friday, right? If I'm not wrong.
I'm sorry?
The 18th, that's where
December.
most of the study. That's a Friday.
It says Thursday.
12/18/2025.
Thursday.
The study was performed from Wednesday, December 17th to Thursday, December 18th.
18th, Thursday. Okay, got it.
Typically, we perform traffic studies on Tuesday through Thursdays, as that gives the general representation of everyday traffic in a lot of those locations.
Makes sense. Okay.
I have a question. You said that this was somewhere near a motorcycle shop, or am I incorrect?
No, you're correct. So the area is Yale, which kind of borders Wildfire, Harley, up off of North Avenue, and then Armitage comes in behind there. And so it's getting further classifications. It was the movement of vehicles kind of into the subdivisions behind, but Yale is the only through access to those neighborhoods behind, as Chatham and Harvard have barricades at the border of Addison that separate the road for through traffic. So that's why we put the traffic counters on North Yale Avenue to try to get the representation of traffic, as I believe some of the comments were from that area on Yale.
I was just asking because there was 0 motorcycles, and I thought maybe because of the time of year, possibly that would change at different times of year, like in the spring or summer.
I would anticipate, yeah, if it was summertime months, we would probably see some percentages of motorcycles.
Okay, thank you.
Question for Sergeant Heyman. Noted that there were 19 related calls, including 7 violations. I guess, how does that compare to other locations? Is this a high call location? I guess I don't really know what those numbers mean. You know, is this pretty normal?
Yeah, it's normal.
Okay.
I wouldn't reflect that as high volume at all.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I almost wish we would have been in it, maybe asked for a speed study too, because is it my understanding that speed is a concern there as well, not just volume of cut through?
Yes, we can put the cameras back out. The
Yeah.
study was supposed to do it. I think, talking with staff, due to the limited daylight hours,
Yeah.
it didn't really correlate to get the speed, but,
Okay, I'm sorry, I think you might have said that already.
no, I did not state that,
Oh,
but,
okay.
but I did want to present what we had. There was a possibility with the software that we can resubmit it through the system to try to pick up speed, because there was the indication that they were trying to get speeds with those. It's just when the report was generated, it did not have the speeds. So
Understood.
we may have the ability to put the cameras back out to redo it as well, if that's the desire. But I don't know if the police has got any complaints, further complaints in that area for speeding or,
No, I did not note any calls for speeders.
So it seems, oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
I was going to say, so it seems like the data we're getting doesn't really show any, anything out of the ordinary, but this is an issue, obviously, it's been on the public's mind since 2019, so I don't want to ignore it, but I don't really know where we go from here. Is there any additional, any additional research we can do? I know there's traffic calming that was talked about before. I don't know if that ever happened. And then I guess the other thing is, do we think Addison's position is going to be any different now? I can't imagine it would be, but I guess it's worth asking. And then how does that happen?
staff can reach back out to Addison
Okay.
to see if their stance has changed. Traffic calming, I know internally staff has looked at it. I believe at those locations between North Yale and Wildfire is, I believe, I'm just trying to verify so I don't state, is a four-way stop. While stop signs are not a speed control measure per se, it's more for access and safety. It does provide some slowdown to vehicles as they need to stop. And I believe the other stop sign is located.
Is that Belden?
No, Belden is, Belden yields to,
Yeah, it just
or
yields,
stops
okay.
to Yale, so it would not be until Armitage before they
Have to stop again.
have to stop again. The road is pretty narrow, which is usually one of the traffic calming strategies, is to narrow the roadway. Short of that, you would be looking at like infrastructure improvements in terms of, we would have to look at some other engineering aspects. I would say staff typically doesn't promote the temporary speed tables and stuff, just due to the damage of the pavement. We have to take them out in the wintertime, those sort of things, so if those were the considerations, we would be more looking at permanent installation, so that plow trucks can get up and over and those sort of items. But typically, we look at narrowing the roadways, narrowing intersections, those sort of things, to provide that narrowing of the driver's vision to help slow them down.
How does that compare to some of the other roads that are sort of kind of the same make from a traffic perspective
In terms of counts,
in terms of counts? Yeah.
I would have to review for sure, but I probably agree that it's probably within the normal realm.
So you consider
That's
this
not
normal?
a collector road
Okay.
in the village. It might be on a little bit of the higher side of the, like, local roads, but not
Not out of the ordinary.
ordinary. Yeah.
Okay.
And like I said, with our staff reviewing it, we did note that it's more as the day goes on, so the anticipation is with the right turn in and right turn out mostly occurring at that Yale intersection with North, that probably indicates that it's people returning back to the neighborhoods in the evening versus going out. If they need to head east, that they probably are going to the other lighted intersections down Armitage to get to Addison Road, or over to Ardmore to hit the lights to turn left on North. But in the evening, they're probably taking Yale back into their subdivision to go back to their residence. Would be our interpretation of some of the data.
Study for a long time.
Yes, we only went back on the minutes and discussions to 2020. There may have been discussion, that was about the I believe in 2019 is when the roads to Chatham and Harvard were segregated. I would have to confirm that, but I believe it was around that time frame. And then this is when this topic came up, so it's been reviewed several times over the course of 6 years.
Okay. Anything else? Moving on to B, the review of the parking study for the Villa Business District, the possible 2-hour time limit for parking stalls on Park Avenue from Villa to Oakland.
As a point of order, Chairwoman, is there a motion to continue this item, or is there any further on the Yale? Or any, I know, additional information that you wish staff to kind of try to acquire?
This was, I know at one previous time, back many years ago, they were talking about excessive motorcycle traffic going up and down the street. Is this something we need to evaluate when the weather breaks in the motorcycle season and bring this back up? Or what is the actual original concern for this, other than just high traffic?
I believe the complaint that came through was high traffic and some speeding through the area, but it was a little, I mean, I would have to pull back up the email, I apologize. I would say, I believe that was the majority.
And was it multiple residents or just one resident?
The information I received was mostly from one resident.
Well, looking back through some of the old minutes, I believe multiple residents supported it. But
I believe the original dating back to 2019 was the increase in traffic. And then it was kind of brought up as with the concerns when Target was built. That's when they closed off Chatham Street.
So we're talking about Villa Avenue now.
Well, we still have to make a motion on
Oh.
this.
Yeah, we
whether we're
need a
continuing or
motion whether
tabling.
to
I'm sorry.
continue or to remove or other, I guess, could be.
Is there a motion to table the conversation?
I'll
Yeah.
move to table this item to a future meeting. I guess we can, let's say the next meeting, to consider additional information in the meantime. Sorry, this is probably not a very good motion, but for staff to reach out to Addison to see if they would reconsider the traffic patterns on their end, and then go from there, so.
Do you still need the speed study?
Pardon me?
You had requested the speed study as well, did you? If you're motioning, should we get that too?
Yeah, I guess let me clarify the motion. I guess before making the motion, I'd like to request that staff proceed with the speed study as originally intended and talk to the staff at Addison to see if they'd reconsider it. So I guess I'll clarify my motion to table the discussion on the review of traffic patterns on North Yale to the next meeting while staff collects additional information.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Table to the next meeting.
So it seems that B, the item was also tabled at the December 17th meeting concerning the parking stalls on Park Avenue and Villa Avenue to Oakland. In the public right-of-way, it seemed to be underutilized by the public for public parking in this area. This request is to be reviewed. These stalls on how to better utilize them, including possibility of placing parking time limits to be in conjunction with other parking located at Villa right-of-way. If this was tabled, is there any new information that anyone has?
In the memo that was added
This?
this evening, yes, one of the recommendations or requests from the Plan Commission was to increase signage. Staff has installed signs at those locations indicating it's public parking, along with some signs on Villa indicating that there's additional public parking on both sides of Park Avenue. We utilized, I would say, the general public parking signage for the time being, as there's a recommendation in the comprehensive plan to brand what they call Old Town, which is the Villa Business District. So we just put the generic signs that indicate that's public parking in the interim to try to help promote that location. So I did create a memo to kind of show that signage. You can kind of get an idea of what it looks like. I would apologize, but due to the holidays that occurred since the last meeting, staff has not really had a chance to do much parking studies in terms of counts of vehicles utilizing that location. My informal review was, it appeared to be like 3 or 4 cars were, at the time I took that photo, were covered in snow. So I kind of got the indication they probably had not moved from the night before due to the snow timeframe. But however, several of the other parking stalls were all open, so there was ample parking that was available, but then there was also some vehicles that looked to be utilizing it probably for the residents as well. So I don't know if that adds any. I know that was kind of the discussion, that the 2 hours was just a recommendation to try to see about it. But the signs have been installed, but we have not had time to, due to staffing levels around the holidays, to kind of take a tally of how many vehicles are utilizing it over the course of a few days and how many vehicles look to be the same vehicles over the course of time. And then Sergeant Hyman in a previous report did indicate that he did not observe any parking citations issued in that area between 2024 and 2025.
I think I would just request if we could get a parking count, so now that we're past the holiday season, and we can just better inform our decision on, if we need 2-hour time limit or something like that. So we have some data to back it up.
I agree with you on that.
Thank you for putting out the signs too.
Yeah.
I know that was like part of the big discussion there, so appreciate that.
Yes.
I have a question. Is this parking being enacted for the future development of that area, or what's currently happening on Villa Avenue, Old Town, right now?
This parking was installed, I'd have to confer of when it was installed, but the original installation was to enhance additional public parking spots in that location. It doesn't necessarily correlate with the new development. However, it will help alleviate probably some of the parking needs in the interim, as the new development will take up to 2 years, probably 2 years before that construction is completed and the public parking spots that are generated with that development are reopened. So I think that was part of the locations. And then additionally, I believe staff in the village is hopeful that we generate some more businesses in that location with some of these developments. And so it's trying to utilize parking needs and address that. So it was one of the items listed, I believe, in the parking study, which was handed out back in the October meeting, the first meeting. And this is one of the areas that I think was a recommendation to try to engage this use of this parking in this location. And so we were trying to look at how to better engage that parking use. But there is some confusion of, I think, is it parking that's dedicated for the apartment building due to the proximity of the apartment building, or is it public? So the recommendation at the last meeting was to add some more signage, which has been put up. In the interim, it is not branded to the Old Town because that branding has not been established yet. That's a goal for this year. But in the interim, to put generic parking signage. But I think the second request, which staff did not have time to get to, was doing some parking counts to try to indicate how many open spots are available each day versus how many spots are taken, or if those spots are not, if cars are parked there for long periods of time, and not utilizing the space. But we can definitely get some counts. It was just a little short
Oh, yeah.
short on staff during that timeframe
Yeah,
to
completely
go out there.
understand.
So.
How many signage were put on?
We put two, there was 3 existing posts, so we put one on the far east sign and the far west post, with the indication that no overnight parking is allowed there. Those signs were already there. And then we put signs up on Villa. They're not the easiest to see just because of how the angles of everything are, but indicate additional public parking are located down Park to both engage the museum, those spaces that kind of engage with the museum, and then these locations.
Okay.
So we have limited the parking down to a few hours along the park?
No, not at this time. That was.
Not at this time?
That was, the proposal was, I believe, to begin the discussion. So that could be one of the tactics to not, to encourage the people that's not a long-term parking for the apartments, it's actually public parking. But we just.
I know back when that was first put in, that they were looking for some place for the employees of the businesses on Villa, for their employees to park. So that was expanded. Unfortunately, there was people from the apartment complex that found it easier to park there because it was closer to the building than their parking lot when unloading groceries, things like that. So they were utilizing it for their own personal, and it was kind of cutting it off. It's kind of a double-edged sword on how that was being utilized. I'm just kind of reflecting back from when that was first put in. There was too many, the employees alone of all of the businesses were taking up the parking spaces, and they're trying to make more room for customers. So they're trying to get the employees to park, a block away.
Just some historical question on this. The original requests on this came from tenants of the building or the business owners?
It was a little bit more from some of the trustees reviewing some of the parking studies to look at this one to see how to better engage the use of this lot.
But do we,
Commissioner kind of said, I think it's, ever since it's gone in, it's been kind of a underutilized or confused location of what the parking is.
so should we make a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to table this until we get further data on parking counts.
And I'll second the motion.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, any new business? A recommendation on an ordinance to the zoning code to allow for digital commercial signage to be projected onto the village right-of-way. It's a newer technology that allows for businesses to use a projector light to cast commercial signage onto the public sidewalk and the right-of-way. This item is to consider whether an ordinance should be drafted to allow the projecting light commercial signage onto the sidewalks, public right-of-way, and any requirements that should be included.
In your packet, I apologize for those memos not being generated when the packet was generated.
Okay,
But we do have I did place a memo on yours. We did receive a request from the proposed union as they're constructing, whether we would allow for projected light or projector laser light to cast the signage onto the right-of-way. Currently, our village code does not allow for that, like any advertisement or any signs projecting into right-of-way other than sandwich boards, which are temporary signage during the daytime. So this would need to be a change to the ordinance to allow for it. We are starting to see them, or I have starting to see them in other communities pop up, so it would be, is this something that the village should consider allowing? And if we do allow it, what are some of the considerations that should be followed? I typed up some of the recommendations that, not recommendations, discussion topics on the back, if it is being considered. These are some of the items that I think the village would need to consider, plus any additional items the planning commission feels. But some of the things you might have to look at would be, should the signs be static? You know, not be rolling or changing or flipping or spinning, those sort of things. Should there be size restrictions of how much it can project? Should there be restrictions on what zones allow for these? Do we want to restrict them to commercial districts? Say as Old Town, Uptown, Historic Ardmore, or do we want to restrict it to actual commercial uses and tie it to more zoning usage? How bright they should be, and then some other regulations. Included in that packet, I tried to put some photos to kind of give you a reference of what they're asking. We've been trying to do a little bit of a search on other communities, but being newer, I could not find too many existing ordinances in some of the other communities yet. We're still looking, but I feel like this one should be more of maybe a discussion, and if these are some of the things that we could then start drafting an ordinance for your consideration to the board as well. Because another one I thought of was also, if you get into the heavy commercial district, should it be one per building, one per business unit? How, you know, how should those be, obviously, how distracting should they be? And then I did notice that some have like, what's the dark sky technology where it doesn't broadcast light up, so you're not bleeding, light pollution from it, those sort of items. I didn't really put any in there, I just put the topics that could be discussed if this is a route that the planning commission feels should move forward.
I think we should give some consideration. It's modernization, and it would enhance some things, but it's a big area of, how bright, how big, how busy is it? Is it a distraction? Do we need to limit the size? This is something that's very new and different, in which we have to absorb and look and do an analysis on it, and seek out more information on pros and cons to this. But as far as being modernization in moving forward with the village, it's kind of a nice feature.
I'm aligned to that proposal as well. I definitely think that this would attract more businesses as well. So I think it is something that we should certainly consider. There are other, I would say, villages across the different towns in the neighboring area that we can take a look at as well, that have now allowed this. So at some point, if we want to retain and we want to, bring in more business, we are going to have to sort of kind of get creative about this specifically. Now, so we can maybe take a look at what, as you said, maybe do a little bit more studies of like what are some of the do's and don'ts that others are following, and maybe perhaps consider some of that. I would like to just understand, what is the dark sky regulation?
My understanding is there's some regulations out there that prohibit how much uplight can go up. So it's kind of relating to light pollution, and so how much uplight with the LEDs, you can
Sure.
kind of cut off a lot of the light where it projects, where the incandescent could not. So some of the dark sky technology is kind of limiting it and focusing the light so you don't have that light bleed into other areas.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Does this type of technology have an actual name for it or something, so we could Google search it and kind of do some background?
I struggled a little bit with it, so most of the language that came up was more for projected laser signage versus light signage. That's where I kind of came up with some of the logos. Some of the European countries are using it, and industry has used it, so, because it's inside businesses that they can project, do not enter or pedestrian. A lot of sports, some of the sports fields are starting to use this technology in courts, where then they don't have to paint all the lines, they can just project the lines onto the court for that activity. A new activity occurs, you reprogram and it changes the lines, and you're not taping or painting all the floorways. And so now it's being broadcasted into now signage. I know I've been in a few malls, and then the malls have had it outside the entries of the storefronts. However, that's inside and not actually on sidewalk or right away, I should say. The ones I've seen are usually inside the lobby, those items, which the union might still proceed with inside their lobby, but they were asking if they would allow this to be projected onto the sidewalk, which is precipitated the topic.
I think it's great you have so many points already to question and to check on before any of this would be allowed to, to go through with any businesses. I can't, the only thing I pictured was what if too many businesses in a row wanted it, but I can't picture that many businesses. What if it happened? There's like 3 in a row, they're all using the same, I know it's probably expensive and it's
I
probably,
think
but
that's
that would be
the-
something that would be so crazy looking to me, to
I
see
think that's some
one
of the
business
discussion that
after
we wish-
another.
I was wishing to have with the
It's
commission.
like,
Yeah,
who
so
gets it first, and they,
Yeah.
how many are limited on a road, on a certain amount of, how much space in between, or,
Yeah, first off, I think this is a tremendous opportunity for Villa Park to lead. So I think it's a great discussion to have and that we're open to it. It could easily, to that point, yeah, it could probably easily get cluttered. So some of these ideas, maybe a recommendation, yeah, 1 per business, right? And the thing that I could think of too, it's mentioned that probably static is, in my opinion, probably the best, because if you've got a couple of these moving around and then it gets like, confusing and it starts to not look good, I think this has an opportunity to really kind of to look good too, like on the sidewalk. And even if it is a couple businesses in a row, making sure that, yeah, we have to get some type of size parameter, because we don't want them to be too big where, as we start to get, increased volume in both, Uptown and Old Town, with 2 potential projects, maybe more businesses, we don't want it to like end up being like overlapping. So we want, so I think size considerations are important, a limit per which businesses can do it, or to how many a business can do. I don't mind the idea of in like the commercial districts, because that's probably where we want to center it, because you're going to have these businesses you want to attract. But yeah, to kind of, it's a great opportunity for Villa Park to stand out. And yeah, and then, yeah, another point on the static is just in case, like, the movement, we don't want it going into the road area and causing any problems there. So I think first thing I think of is static and a size parameter, and probably that specific business's branding is probably the best, because then we can, then people can actually understand, like, oh, that's More Brewing, like that's on there, or XYZ business, like we know their brand, branding of it, instead of some type of randomness to it. So those are a couple things, like regulation standpoints, that I can think of off the top of my head there. But yeah, I think this is a great opportunity for us to lead, stand out, attract businesses, but also attract customers, because you see, like, oh, cool, this is Villa Park's in the new age here. So
Question, is this something that would be put up by the village and then you'd maybe rent advertising time to the local, or is this something that you're going to allow the businesses to put up?
What's being proposed, in our mind, would be more an enhancement to the sign code to allow this sort of signage for the businesses and not advertisement for the village.
Okay.
That could be, it's just, the request came to us was more for business-specific branding onto the right-of-way. So it would be more like an amendment to the sign code to allow for these sort of signs with these parameters, those sort of things. Kind of like any other sign that a commercial business applies for. This would just probably be a new section under that zoning code under the sign ordinance.
Okay.
So current signing for businesses, is there a permitting that's involved with that? So they have to put up the sign, I know there's ordinances involving sizes and logos and things like that, but I guess to what level are they regulated? So like this being relatively dynamic, even if it's not actively changing, like we've been kind of concerned about, you know, they could change the static image frequently. Is that something that's regulated on traditional signs now? I guess I'm trying to think about how that would be regulated without being overly burdensome to staff and the people trying to use it.
So, per our sign, yes, it's, you have to get a permit for
Yep.
installation of signs. There are some different requirements for different locations on the type of signs that are allowed. Case in point, on St. Charles, you cannot have any digital display signs. That's why we don't have any message board signings on St. Charles, as that's prohibited. So in my research over the last couple of weeks, these are some of the topics that were discussed, or that came up, whether allowing rolling or different stuff, because under your digital display signs, say like the library's display sign, there is requirements, but there is requirements in our code that says how often can those messages be changed, like is it a 3-minute cycle that you can't be greater than 3 minutes for a change in the signage on the display signs. You know, is flashing restricted, that you can't have flashing signs. So I don't know if that answers your question, but it kind of depends on the signage per our code, and then locations or prohibit what signs can be.
Okay.
Like currently, you cannot project into the right of way on any signs in the village.
Right.
So,
I think that does answer most of my question, although it was a little convoluted question, but, so as far as and I guess coming back to the flexibility they would have there, you know, I'm thinking more of the content, you know? Is there any current restriction to the content of signs, you know? You can put the logo, but can you put the logo and then a message and then, you know, hey, don't go to that place right next door, go to this place right now? I mean, that's just one of those, I know it's probably already thought of in other signing considerations, but with this one, it again provides potentially some more flexibility that would offer maybe opportunities we don't want businesses to take. Makes sense. I guess that's just a concern I have.
What I've seen in some of the other places is that they limit it to just the logo and the name of the actual business itself. And that's
would be-
typically how these, and I think the way it's been designed as well, the technology doesn't allow a lot of alteration, and so there's already a limitation there, but who's to say that tomorrow, I mean, the concern is very legitimate that with AI being in the picture, that's something very easy to do. So, one area that I'm aware of that actually actively does this today is, unfortunately, it's, gotta go back to my days in the city of Chicago, it's the 50th Ward, which has a street, heavily commercial utilized street, a lot of restaurants, a lot of different type of businesses, whether it's jewelry, whether it's clothing. It's along the it's along the 50th Ward specifically. So that is, if you know the area, it's right on Devon between California and Western. So I can get you the specific you want, but there are businesses that are now popping up there with sidewalk signs that project. So I suspect that they probably have, knowing the city of Chicago has some level of rules and regulations that they have already pre-established that maybe perhaps we can take a look at, that we can perhaps see if that's something we can consider.
I just had one more comment, and I think it's already maybe implied in the staff memo, is that, you know, I don't think we should be considering this for more than sidewalk, basically, at this time. I'm not looking to have, you know, anything up on walls at the moment yet. Maybe someday, but
Yeah,
for now, I think we should stick to the sidewalks and the horizontal planes.
Makes sense.
I don't have any more comments, but I think that's.
So is there a motion you need on this, or was this
Probably to
discussion?
continue, I guess, to continue discussion, or are we ready to make a recommendation to start drafting an ordinance? I think we could probably anything from the table. I don't know.
I think so for making a motion, I think we'd probably need a little bit more of the the specifics around that second page that you have here, on what's being considered, what's allowed, what's not, before we actually formalize it into to a decision.
Yeah, I think we need to gather data
Yeah.
to organize a type of ordinance for this.
Just for a point of clarification, so you're asking if we can kind of find some of the other locations that have already done it and see what the
That's right.
parameter is, and then bring that back? in
That's right.
Like a
Yep.
best we can chart form of the different parameters that are required, like a pick and choose for the plan commission to try to help draft the initial ordinance, is what's being requested, correct?
I support that, yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I guess a point of, for the meeting here, I guess I'll make a motion to continue this item to future meetings whilst additional information is collected.
And I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
I have no comments at this time. Commissioner comments, any commissioner comments?
None for me.
Not for me.
No comment.
Done.
Any village board liaison comments? Staff liaison comments?
This evening, so with the new ordinances that were put in place for the commissions, one of the requirements is to have written recommendations to go to the board. So on your seats tonight, I drafted what I perceived as recommendations to proceed on those. I gave them to everyone, just being the first time through here, of the 3 recommendations that were approved on the December 19th meeting. So if those are okay, we can get them signed by Chairwoman Gonzalez, or we can actually utilize the pro temp chair of
For that meeting?
Alan for that meeting. But I was just trying to get through, because there's several components that need to be required per the ordinance. So if those are okay, we can get them signed, and then these will be then moved on to board, for a motion to the board to consider. We're probably looking at the first meeting in February for the, parking on Wildwood on the north side that was recommended. And then the 2 that relate to the Garden Station or the Hawthorne project would probably be coupled into a package with recommendations from the Zoning Board of Appeals, so that the board hears all of these components at one time. And then that's all I have.
Want us to sign these before I adjourn?
No, you can adjourn.
I'm making a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? All right.
So, now,
You're good.